It's 16 years since Leicester conceded 6 goals. And 6-2 it is.
1969 was a strange year for Leicester City. They teamed a trip to Wembley with a relegation. That was the golden age gone. The next quarter of a century was hard work. These are those endless yo-yo years of Filbert Street. Save for a Christmas hangover, Leicester City were not perfect in gaining promotion in the 1970-71 season after just 2 campaigns away from the big time. It prompted the end of Franco Farrell at Filbert Street as he was sent up north to succeed Matt Busby at Manchester United. Jimmy Bloomfield was the man in line to take on the top flight Foxes after he had got Orient up to the 2nd tier and stabilised them. His first competitive game at Filbert Street was a throwing in at the deep end exercise.
Oh, and a good piece of play here as Whitworth comes in on the blind side, and Fern! No, yes! Whitworth!
With double winners Arsenal otherwise engaged, Leicester were plucked to meet Bill Shankly's Liverpool, a Liverpool containing names like John Toshak, Ian Callaghan and Emlyn Hughes. No mugs. Ambition was there instantly. Not only were names like John Samuels, Keith Weller and Alan Birchenall coming in, but Peter Shilton was barred from leaving despite efforts from Derby and Arsenal to prize him away. Leicester's biggest crime in the 71-72 season, a bizarre one in almost every aspect in English football, was that of being inconsistent in 12th. A normal character in what was temporarily an abnormal world.
Simmons on the edge of the box. It's gone in! It's
Charlton. And in it comes again for Lauderjump.
The big match or match of the day cameras not being there for any kind of success dilutes my point, but there were signs of an upwardly mobile club in triumphs against the likes of Man United, Liverpool again and the double over Nottingham Forest. Optimism was mixed with technological advances set by Bloomfield, from the all-white kit ahead of the 72-73 season to the enormous balloon he had placed over the Filbert Street turf.
The ball is still in play. Birchenall again. It's there!
Now it wouldn't work all the time, again nowhere in the cups. Leicester placed 4 places lower, but their goal record was near identical, shipping the same amount and scoring only 1 fewer. This despite the acquisition of Huddersfield Town's mercurial forward Frank Worthington, and yet again keeping hold of by now an integral Peter Shilton in goal.
Aiming for Springer. Samuels. On for Worthington. The touch. Oh,
Given back to Leicester by Gemmell. Here's Worthington with a chance. Yes!
It was a campaign that began with an unfamiliar invincibility streak, which only faltered with a late home defeat against Coventry, which prompted a rapid unravelling. But when you've got artists of the game in Weller and Worthington, there were always going to be those undeniable afternoons. From the 3-goal takedown of Spurs, a post-Christmas defeating of Arsenal, to a 5-goal rattling of Ipswich and another thrashing of Chelsea. Again, another season of mid-table comfort. The position may have improved by 7, but the fine margins ensured it was another campaign of bobbing between the 37 to 42 point marker. No, 73-74 became more renowned in the East Mids for that most typical of Leicester City environs, a march on the FA Cup.
Stringfellow. Worthington. Stringfellow.
That was Worthington, and here's Glover. Oh, yes! What a fine goal.
There's the cross again. And yes! It's Steve Earle, the number 2. Goals. Waters. Oh, yes! Oh, yes! For the... To Highway. Set up on for the cross. Toshak was deep. And it's there! The ball went loose.
To get so damn close to Wembley again, so close to a 4th attempt at winning that ever-elusive FA Cup, was gut-wrenching, for Peter Shilton especially. There was clearly an improvement at Filbert Street, but it was just too glacial in its pace. That summer he departed for Stoke. No longer could Leicester refuse the type of money being offered, £325,000 being the figure in the sum of 74. His replacement was Mark Wallington, who went on to make more appearances for the club than both Shilton and his predecessor, Gordon Banks. 460 games, a Leicester record for a goalkeeper, until certain Kasper Schmeichel pitched up.
Oh,
chance for Daniels. Yes, he's got it. Exactly the same thing as happened.
Chipped in again towards Bobley. He lets it go there. Oh, and what a goal! Scored by John Samuels.
And for a few years, save for the odd stolen point or position either way, Leicester City had gradually become First Division furniture. Not a menace in the cup competitions, not in any danger of sinking into a relegation swamp, just there. The ceiling had been reached. 18th place of 75 was bolstered to 7th the following campaign, but it all fell under the umbrella of being mid-table fodder. Stagnation had been acquired, a sometimes useful tool, but now the club had reached a stick or twist moment.
Referee waving his arm to get play continuing. Good try by Emmanuel. Beating bluntly, and here's Royal. And Wellington lucky, and in the end was made to pay for it.
They twisted. These cherry-picked results appear at odds with the most bang average of seasons. 40 points comfortably reached, 11th place being the definition of mid-table, but the 76-77 campaign was one where frustration spilled over. There was Frank Worthington being vocal in a public arena. There were the seeds of discontent sown, and by the summer of 77 the move had been made. Bloomfield was out. In his place, Frank McClintock, and the following season was a tale as old as time, Beauty and the Beast.
Now Rashford to drive it left-footed. It's there. Not far. Here's McDowell. Left foot shot.
Beauty being in pretty fucking short supply, as the Foxes' top scorers were Roger Davies and Mark Goodwin with 4 each. 4 one-goal wins were barely quenchable oases sprinkled across an arid desert of despair. Both Merseyside clubs came to Filbert and slapped Leicester about. A trip to Leeds in late March was more of the same, as McClintock finally gave in and jumped before he could be pushed in April. They had been double digits away from surviving. There was no longer a guarantee that Leicester would be back so quickly this time around.
Christie up and scores.
Even with the best will in the world and or the best quality in the world, there was just a malaise about the place as Leicester slumped to 17th in the second tier, their worst return since 1949, and obviously this time they didn't have an FA Cup run to distract everyone with. But there was one facet of the 78-79 season that gave the most minutest of shimmers. That was the manager, Jock Wallace, who had just taken Rangers to a treble up north, and he had somehow been acquired. Backs against the wall, the youth policy was almost an imperative, and the figurehead of this approach became hometown hero Gary Lineker. In the immediacy of the second division though, Wallace leaned on a man from over the Forth Bridge there, Alan Young. The effects were transformative, and isn't it funny that the TV cameras should suddenly appear when there's a whiff of a promotion chase?
Good try! Good goal! Bob's coming up. And we're in the corner, another goalkeeper gets for it.
Barota. May gets in there, and it looked to me as though Barota. Byrne will take the corner. O'Neill got the touch, and Smith scores the goal! Oh, yeah.
They were back up, and whilst another Scot was acquired to lead the line this time, Jim Melrose, it wasn't through a lack of victory as to why Leicester immediately plummeted back down into the second tier. In fact, their tally of 13 wins was more akin to a mid-table position, which they had become well acquainted with. No, it was their inability to scab points here and there, drawing just the 6 games, which was no good, especially in this, the last season of 2 points for a win. Not even the potential touted signing of a Johan Cruyff partway through the season would have salvaged the inadequacies that the Foxes were doomed to. And they would fall some way short upon their subsequent return to the second tier, 8th place and 5 points off the promotion pace set by Norwich City in 3rd. This despite the breakthrough of Lineker, who began to score at a rate of knots. But it wasn't all doom and gloom. There was always the promise of the FA Cup, even in the second tier.
It gets there, driven back by Pleat, and that's 1-0, and the goalkeeper made a mistake, which...
And now going back in. O'Neill.
Stirring stuff from the home team. And here's May. Hit Griffin. Oh, his bypass has gone in!
Played for our dealers. Coming into Cooks!
Whilst it may feel like a comfortable route on paper, the key game had been won on the second day of the year, when a very strong Southampton side got rolled over at Filbert. In the end, the power of the Spurs cup machine told at Villa Park. It would be the last big game of Jock Wallace's tenure in the East Midlands. Accepting a move back up north with Motherwell, now Leicester were in a tough place approaching their second season back in the second division. Gordon Milne was the man selected after a year out of work. He'd been taken under Joe Mercer's wing at Coventry City, and upon promotion to the manager's job, he managed to not only keep the club in the top flight as one of the smaller teams, but they had flourished. Now he was in for a whole different type of task. The football he got Leicester playing in the first half of the season was typical to his philosophy, with 4 or more goals stuck past teams like Carlisle, Derby, Burnley, Wolves and Cambridge. And yet, with a February 19th loss at Grimsby, Leicester found themselves 6th in the league, but a massive 12 points away from 3rd and the final promotion spot. These inconsistencies, with as many losses as wins and not a whole lot of draws, a reason why only 6,000 souls showed up to Filbert Street 3 days later at home to Shrewsbury. They had no idea whatsoever what was about to follow.
Dodd could ball through to LINKS. Lovely goal from Steve LINKS.
McDonald. Now, Robert Jones scores!
15 matches remain, not a single one was lost. Going into the final day, Leicester had a profitable home game against relegated Burnley, and they led Fulham on goal difference. A fine time to drop your only second goalless draw of the season. Meanwhile, local rivals Derby were doing Leicester a solid, beating Fulham 1-0, a result of which would hold Fulham down in the second division, allowing the Foxes to roam 3 in the top flight. Only problem being that crowd trouble prompted the referee to blow up a minute early. The entire promotion was now at the mercy of a Football League decision. 4 days later, the Football League instated Derby's win, promoting Leicester City to the first division.
Pleat. 3 runners ahead of him. Oh, I say, what a cracking goal. Sims. Oh, yes! Wolf Rushton. Not on the temple a few moments ago. And there's Pleat. Oh, I say, he's done it again. Comes to Lineker. That's good play. And he got it. Smith's header. Adam Smith, and he scores.
A star had already been launched in the second tier. Gary Lineker mustered up 26 goals to win the Golden Boot before only being dwarfed by the indomitable Ian Rush for strikes in the top flight. At a club level, Leicester began the season horrifically. Their first win back in the big time postponed until October the 29th with a triumph over Howard Kendall's Everton. Just 2 points dropped and a waterlogged abandonment against Southampton had preceded it. Grim stuff until the turn of the year, when Milne's attacking football started to reap the rewards and Leicester eventually wound up in 15th place. The subsequent campaign almost a mirror image, the same amount of goals scored, the same amount of points won, the same position in the table. The campaign probably encapsulated across 7 October days when Leicester got pumped 5-0 at Hillsborough, only to exact the same scoreline at home to Villa the following week. This time, Lineker's 24 goals had him in with a share of the Golden Boot. Form like that, especially for a 15th place club, was never going to keep him at Filbert Street. That summer he was signed by league champions and cup winners, cup holders Everton. Now the goal-scoring onus laid on Alan Smith's shoulders.
The scorer this time is Mark Bright. But a nice little ball there, and the back pass by Moore. No! Smith against the post. Smith, no! Number 2. Venus left it. McAllister. That's a very good goal.
Alan Smith, who joins Arsenal tomorrow, his shot but it was turned in by Alan McDonald.
Again, there were two identical campaigns to one another, as Alan Smith failed to live up to the goal-scoring prowess of his old strike partner. Such were the fine lines of Leicester City in the top flight. Their record of 54 scored, 76 conceded and 42 points was good enough for survival in the 85-86 season, but that exact same record didn't guarantee survival in 87. Things were in dire straits entering May 86 as Leicester entered the final day of the campaign in the relegation zone, and with Newcastle the final visitors to Filbert Street. A win and hope at least one of the teams above them failed was required. Ali Moughlan and Ian Banks were the goals to uphold Leicester's end of the bargain, as Ipswich were the ones faltering under the late springtime sunshine. The Foxes had gotten away with it. As a measure so that kind of season wouldn't happen again, Brian Hamilton was hired to be joint manager alongside Gordon Milne. Ask Roy Evans at Liverpool in '98 or Kenny Dalglish and John Barnes at Celtic in 2000 if it works. Spoiler, it doesn't. This time Leicester entered May with the advantage of being outside the drop zone and winnable fixtures against a Coventry team concerned with the Cup and an Oxford side in a similar bind were profitable. A draw against Coventry plunged Leicester into a familiar position in the relegation places come the final day's visit of Oxford United. Another win would do it. Instead, the U's held out and Leicester were sent down. They had to start all over again. Brian Hamilton's 6 months in sole charge of Leicester City had gone horribly wrong, so after failing to score across 3 straight league games against Bradford, Huddersfield and Middlesbrough, he was gone. In 16th place when the axe came tumbling down, it was an absolutely enormous coup to have acquired a certain David Pleat as his replacement. He had previous in taking little old Luton Town to the top flight and keeping them there, and he'd just come out of the Spurs job. Surely, if anybody could bring the Foxes up to scratch, it was him.
It off a superb afternoon for him. He slips the ball past Hodge. It's his first hat-trick for the club.
Again in the second half, Hull could have had 10. Palin said at Peyton, he doesn't miss that sort of a chance.
Did you miss our first video on this Leicester City 4-part series? If so, click on this one.